there are two words used to describe Sean Daniel. It's useful and easy. So it makes a lot of sense to make a useful and easy guitar lesson that you can really kind of rip off with just one finger if you want, okay? So eventually we're gonna work up to something that sounds like this, but you can use this kind of like trick arpeggio thing in pretty much any kind of playing. But again, it's gonna eventually sound like this. Okay, so it's really just like this super simple run that anybody can do. Probably the simplest form of kind of like any kind of fretboard spanning arpeggio we've ever done. So first of all, we're just gonna talk about what we have going on here. Let's start with any note, right? Let's start with the G note right here. Whether we're playing a G major chord, a G minor chord, anything, this is really gonna work on almost any key that has a G in it, okay? So first let's just do this little line. It's gonna look like this. Okay, now again, that was just a slide, mostly using just one finger. But if we start on the G, we're gonna slide 2 frets higher, and then down a string. So you go from 3E to 5E to 5A, okay? Now, after we do this, we're gonna do the same thing on the octave G. The 5th fret of the D is the same as the 3rd fret of the E. So we have the slide, down, start on the next string down, and do the same thing. You can almost kind of see it as like an L shape, right? You can do the same thing with a hammer on. And then if you want to end where we started, right here on the 8th fret of the B string is the 3rd G. So we go from G to G to G. It's kind of like a 2-octave jump here. The root note, a step higher, down, root note, step higher, down, here, okay? So now if we're going to talk about this in numbers of like an arpeggio from a scale, this would be a 1 to a 2 to a 5. And again, that comes from the major scale, okay? So a G to an A to a D is the root note, its second, major second technically, and then its 5th, okay? So this isn't major or minor, it's almost kind of like a suspended chord, like a sus2 arpeggio, but it's just a really simple thing that can work its way through almost anything in any really key. Now when I say any key, what does that mean? Well, any key has 7 notes, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And since this isn't major or minor, any of these kind of modes or single notes that have a second, a step away, are gonna work, which is 5 of the 7 main ones that you do use, right? The only ones, again, if we talk about in the key of G, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and then G, the only time this isn't gonna work is if we start on the 3rd note, B, because in B's mode, we have a half step instead of a full step, and then in the 7th one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? That F sharp also has a half step. Any of the other places you might want to use this, you can do the same move. So the 2nd note in G, you do it here. Again, that B is where they have that. If you want to think of this modally, this would be the Phrygian mode. It doesn't have that whole step. That'd be that kind of dark sound right there. But for any of the major ones, right, we can go back to C. Like that, you go to D, E. So, really super easy that you can really eventually just kind of like fly through. Again, with the hammer on, it's 3 to 5, down, then maybe slide like that. But where might you want to use something like this? I think it sounds good as maybe kind of like a placeholder to take a chord and then maybe just throw this in here. So that example that we used at the beginning was just a C major 7 to an A minor 11, right? So first voicing is 3A, 5D, 4G, 5B, and I'm just kind of finger styling it like root chord, and then the chord again, and then to this next chord. Okay, so then I'm gonna be on 5E, 5D, 5G, and 3B. So let's say I'm kind of on the C major 7 for maybe 2 times, and then I'm on this A minor 11 for 2 times. Now maybe the second time on the A minor 11, I want to do something C oriented. minor. Instead of staying there, you can kind of just do anything right there, starting on that C. I just grabbed the 8th fret, which is a C. Same difference here. You do the same thing here. But I'm just going to go hammer on, and then end up on the octave, and then drag back here. And eventually you kind of like, you know, with any arpeggio or lick type thing that you want to learn, you kind of just find out efficient ways to keep doing the same thing. The reason I like starting this on this C as compared to this C is because it ends up putting me where my pinky is on the B string, and I can drag that back into that chord voicing that has my pinky on the B string, right? So C, A, C, A. And you do it as fast as you want, you know. You don't even have to do the whole thing. It's just kind of like learning the spot. And any of these are going to work. You can do it in the A spot. C, A, A. You don't even have to do the whole thing. So it's something that's like really kind of easy to do. You get really fast at it because, again, it's just a really easy slide. You can do it with any finger. Even your pinky. Get wild. Get out of control, right? And, you know, you'll find, I find it pretty useful in anything because you can use it as an extension off a chord. Again, anything but that 3rd note in a key or the 7th note in a key. And even then, throw it on there, it's like, whatever. What's the worst that's going to happen? Like, if we did something in G, again, B would be the place I couldn't use it, right? Just because this note isn't in the key of G. I do the same thing, you know, G, D, C, G. Yeah, that doesn't sound awful, even though that one note is technically outside of the key. Doesn't really matter. You know, I think it's just something super easy to do. It's something that, like, you know, suspended chord arpeggios aren't really something that I've seen a lot of like lessons on personally. So again, I think it's really the easiest arpeggio that you can do because you don't even have to like think about using different fingers. Use the one finger, be a boss, and then rock it out. So hopefully that was interesting to you. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.